Hi, Annie Silverdale Poole here, and I wanted to share with you today some things about compassion for yourself and compassion for others when emotions are flying, when they're quite intense. And we're looking at your emotions, really. So, this is for you. So, what happens when your emotions become completely overwhelming? Maybe because of something that's building up slowly, or maybe because of something that's happened very suddenly, such as the loss of a relationship or a pet, or worst case scenario, the death of someone that you love. And compassion really must start with you because a little bit like a car on the drive or any transport, it needs fuel. And your fuel is the foundation for how you show up in life and how you will see other people and how you will manage your intense emotions. So let's say, for example, you were absolutely run down and overwhelmed and fed up with a colleague. And behind the scenes, you don't want anything to do with that colleague. So what do you do about it? Well, first of all, you look inside your own inner landscape. You look inside you for your own wisdom and you check how you show up in the world. And that's really easy to do because from the start of when you get up in the morning and you throw the duvet back and you get out of bed, you will have pressures coming at you. And it's how you manage those pressures. You may have a young family, you may be stuck in traffic, you may have forgotten to eat. And all of those things build up and add up to how compassionate you are for yourself. And what about when you make mistakes? Do you criticize yourself often? Do you judge yourself? I think we all do it to some extent, don't we? But it depends on how intense you're feeling in that judgment. That's what I'm talking about today. So we are programmed to have compassion for other people that are like ourselves, the in crowd at work. And there's been a fabulous experiment done about this, and it was about a hand and an injection coming towards it. And they measured their brain responses for compassion in that moment. And 99% of it, the brains responded compassionately. Now, when they labeled the hands Christian, Muslim, Jew, LBGTQ, and all the other variations of the human world, the responses were different. People responded more to the hand that they associated the label with, thus kind of proving that we are slightly biased in who we like and we don't like. We may be even biased in the things about ourselves that we like and we don't like. So, what do we do about it? Well, we can do three things. First of all, look at our own mindset and then build a capacity for wishing the best for ourselves and in coming from that place, wishing the best for others. And thirdly, having the courage to take action when something isn't quite right. And that doesn't mean getting the boxing gloves out or hiding away because you don't know what to do. So, understanding your own mind state. Well, when things are going okay and the feeling of those neutral thoughts passing through, they're just flowing through as vibrations in our body, and we can manage that. It's when those vibrations start to build up. We have little niggling doubts, don't we, to begin with? Niggling doubts. Did they really say that to us? How dare they say that to us? And our perceptions start to gather information and collude with people that we're in with in a way that's biased towards ourselves. And we kind of know that and sense it. and we justify it because the other person has been horrible to us. But that doesn't move it on. So when we get in that fear place, that doubt, because there are really only two emotions in the world, there's love, and I'm not talking about romantic love, I'm talking about an unconditional, allowing love. That doesn't mean to say you put up with horrible things, it's just a very neutral, open-hearted space to be. And then the other side of the continuum is fear and intense fear. So compassion leads us towards the love. Blame, judgment, criticism leads us towards the fear, makes things get worse. So let's take an incident at work where, if you think of a rugby ball, somebody says something, and so the pressure comes in on the top of the rugby ball, and you react from the underneath of the rugby ball. But in that space in between is the space that we're going to look at today. And that's about knowing where you are, your vitality, how you turn up in the world, and being able to reboot your mind state so that you have the capacity to be compassionate about others. So if somebody does say something awful in the moment, you don't retaliate, you don't build it up, you walk away and regroup, and then you go back and take action. And that's from a much fairer, more unconditional point of view than reacting in the moment. So when somebody says something to us, it's kind of like a dagger in the stomach, isn't it? Or maybe a constriction around the throat, or our heart palpitates. That's because we sense the vibration of what they are saying. We sense the emotion of it, and we sense that through our bodies. Our bodies naturally scan for danger. And if we have the thought that that's, we don't like that, that's a trigger to set off that body's fight-flight syndrome. And the trick is not to live there. The trick is to have that space in between the firing of the first condition and between that and your reaction. So the first time somebody says something to you that you don't agree with, and having that space, what I call the sacred pause, before you react. Because if you don't, then that fear, that discomfort in your body, you start to look there for the answer, and you're never going to find it there. Because the more you look in the criticism and the judgment and the blame, the bigger it gets, the more intense the feeling gets, until maybe you get to one day where you think, I can't deal with this person anymore. And either you have to have a mediator to help you out, or you find another job. And that's sad, because you just take with you your way of being in the world. So how are you going to reboot your mind state once it's been slightly disturbed, a bit ruffled, and the vibrations are feeling a bit jagged? How do you reboot from that conflict space? Well, the ego will tell you everything you want to hear about the other person, how wrong they are, how loud they are, how judgmental they are. And it kind of makes you feel comfortable to stay in that space. But what you have to look for is that unconditional compassion within yourself. And it begins with you. And so in that moment, it's about finding a way that you can have a system that grounds you, that slows down that heart rate, that eases that clutched throat, that stops your hands shaking, that takes away that intense feeling in your stomach. And that might be, for me, definitely is, go and have a cup of tea. It might be remove yourself from the situation for now and say, I hear what you're saying. I'm going to address that later. For now, I'm going to leave this situation as it is. And you go away and you get yourself into that really level, neutral space where things are just flowing through again. And it's from that inner place that you find your wisdom for the next step. Breathing is a way. Just simply counting your breaths in and counting your breaths out. And I always breathe in for 5 and out for 7. And then I build it up. Breathe in for 6 and out for 8. And I do that until I can feel my heart rate slowing down. And actually, at the same time, it stops me having that intense look at what's going on and building it up. And then the second thing you can do is to go out in nature, and that could be even a walk around a building or a walk to another department. Just notice a view through a window. Those are just ways of telling your brain you're not focusing on this situation and allowing your body to recover and reboot. And then it's about presence. And I don't know if you know about presence, because when you are so busy at work, you're so busy remembering things in the past and how you did it and looking to the future that you're never quite in this moment. And you may have laptops, iPads, distractions all around that keep you in that space of before and after and never actually present. And so to get present for me, I notice where I am in the chair where I'm sitting. I allow my face to relax, my shoulders. I put my hands in my lap and my feet on the floor, and I feel how my body is. Is it tense? If it is, then I'll move it a little bit. And I'll ground myself into where I am in this moment. And that's the best place, because the breathing, the body's natural rhythm comes back to a normal breathing space. The mind slows down and gets quiet, and you have access to the mental capacity for dealing with the emotions that have just all been stirred up by a conflict between yourself and your colleague. So rebooting yourself and getting really present, do that by having a conversation with a colleague, not about the other colleague, about anything, time of day, weather, and then get curious. Ask them a question, ask them 2 questions. Get really curious about their life. Because that curiosity about another person really keeps you grounded in your own compassion. It lights up your own vitality in life. And also it means you are showing up as present to yourself and to the other person. You're the type of person others want to be around. So what we've talked about so far is letting go of the resistance of the conflict. You know, that how dare they shouldn't, and all that judgment. And really getting present and aware of how you are in the moment before you step into that relationship with that person. And if you're doing it from that observation place, from that deep listening place, that's a really good heart-to-heart connection with the other person. Because what you have to remember is that they have a life too. They've got a family. They've got worries. They've experienced pain and suffering in their life just like you. They've had joy in their life like you, belly laughs even. They too want to be seen and heard. And they may not be going about it in the right way, but together you might be able to manage that. And so the vibration that you really want to come from is not that misaligned, jagged feeling in life, but being really present. And it's such a simple way to be able to reboot that. When I'm teaching this to younger children, we divide an A4 paper into 4, and they find 4 ways that they can step out of a situation: listening to music, watching something on TV, going out to the park with a friend. Those are just some of the things, reading a book, some of the things that they put on their emergency mental first aid kit. Because you can't see your feelings, can you? So you can't wrap them up. But what you can do is to return those unsettled vibrations back to a vibration that's comfortable for you. So that's one of the ways to manage conflict. Take care. You matter.